Welcome, coaches, to the Coaching Magic Podcast, where we reveal, discover, and create the insights, tools, and aha moments that make your coaching seem, well, magical. I'm your host, Jill Young, and I invite you to listen up, giddy up, and buckle up as we play with this creative profession of coaching that helps humans become their best, including you. In today's episode, I'm joined by Melanie Spring of the Brilliant Rebellion. Melanie is a brand muse, which we unpack and talk about at the end of this episode, but we also really dig into the concept of layers in coaching. We play with invitations, we play with curiosity, and why that doesn't sometimes naturally arise in humans, even though it is our natural birthright to be curious. So I encourage you to buckle up, sit back or sit up, sit forward if you'd like, and really enjoy and absorb all of this beautiful wisdom that Melanie and I unpack in today's episode. Enjoy. As we logged on this morning, you were talking about your 12-hour sleep. What's that about, Miss Melanie?
Well, basically, we've been on the road for 4 weeks, and we got home on Friday after 17 hours of driving Thursday, and we just crashed, like solidly crashed for the weekend. So it was really nice to just have a minute this morning to be like, I don't want to get up first thing and hurry into my day. It felt nice to just go slow.
There's a big part of coaching magic that we call rest. It's just like for coaches, it's so important. It's a just foundational principle of rest. And I've actually been watching you. I'm part of your Brilliant Rebellion, which is so much fun. And I hope we talk about that today. But I've been watching you, over these last 4 weeks. And I've been curious, have you been resting? Is this 4 weeks where did you just like, this is a rest thing for me, or was it an adventure for you, or maybe both? But
it was a
maybe
bit of
tell us a
both.
little bit about that.
Yeah, we planned it to be something where we were going to do, I think it was like 27 stops in 44 days. And I think we did 23 total. We canceled a couple of them at the end, but we wanted to take our quiet time. You know how you go on a road trip and you're like, okay, I got to get to my destination. It's like, I got to get there. And it's like, what if we didn't? What if we just took it slowly? So it took 2 weeks for us to get from Vero Beach all the way up to Cleveland, which was lovely because it was like slow, like a couple of days here, a couple of days there, see this city, see that city. So we got a minute to spend time with friends and family or just by ourselves. And over the course of the whole time, we got to see really good family. We got to go to a wedding for Dan's cousin, and we got to see my parents. My dad just finished chemo, so it was like really time for us to go see family. So it was nice to be able to go see what we wanted to see and spend time with people we wanted to spend time with. But the bigger picture of it was to show people that they don't have to do things like they always do them. It's hard to break people out of their rules and the things that they have to do. So it ended up being 40 days and 23 stops instead of 44 days and 27 stops. We hit a wall like 3 weeks in. I was just writing about this morning. We were basically 3 weeks in, and we both sat under some trees and stared up at the sky. And we were like, can we go home now? Just like we hit a wall with it. Like so many people, so much time, so much on the road. We're like, no, but we could probably quit like a week early. That would be good. We could just end it like a week early. And so we did. And we were like, how
and
great.
then you did.
Yeah.
There's this really great coaching in method, insight, tool, something that is I like to call it the river of flexibility. I learned it, I think, for the first time. The first time I ever heard it was through Steve Chandler. And he's talking about two banks of a river. And one bank of the river is rigidity. Or structure. And the other bank of the river is spontaneity. And it feels to me like this trip you just took, you were able to flow in that. And, you had some structure, like it's going to be 44 days. These are our stops. But you also had that beautiful balance of spontaneity as well. And yes, we're putting it in context of this trip you just took. But maybe riff on how that, either your trip or that principle just flows into it just flows into life.
Well, we really started this trip off with surrender and going, okay, where do we want to go? What do we want to do? But also, what's here for us? What's the thing that we should be doing and where could we be going? And one of the things that I've learned over the years is that I'm not somebody who's very good at surrendering. I've been learning much more
Hello,
about
me
this.
too, me too, we're
Right? Like,
friends.
I'm good at, like, doing things in an order, like, I'm a Virgo who likes to make things happen the way that I like to have them happen, and so this is my year of tender surrender, so I'm just flowing with that phrase and just being in my feminine and being able to just see what happens and know that I can plan, but also I can leave things up to the universe and go, "It's okay, but there's a bigger plan, and it's probably better than my plan," which it's hard to let go of, but I did. And I realized how much the universe really just showed us if we just take our time with it, if we're just, okay, we don't have to rush to leave. We don't have to rush to get there. There is no like, oh, if we don't make it by this time, then something happens. It's just, no, everything will happen as it's meant to. And if I just keep saying yes to things and I keep saying, yeah, let's try that and let's see what happens, or even just saying, I need some rest. So we're just going to reset some things. Everything happened better than we planned. And it just felt like there was so much ease with it, which was just something I want to apply to everything in my life. Like even getting up this morning and being like, okay, I've got to get things going and I have my routine and I got to do, I'm like, wait. Or I could just stay in bed and just take a minute and just rest a little more and just take my
Mm.
time, which is out of character for me. So I'm retuning my character as I'm going.
I love this so much. Okay, I'm curious. So I think what I'm getting is this your first day back to air quotes work?
Yes. And it's been a
And
month. It's been 4 weeks and like
so I'm loving this so much.
whoosh.
I'm loving that this podcast gets to be the day, and we're recording this, it's 8:30 in the morning for me, so
Mhm.
I'm just like, "Is this the first work thing you've done since you've" Oh
Mhm.
my gosh, I'm so excited. Okay, Melanie, if you're a fabulous coach, and, in coaching, we sometimes, I will say only always, we need to use our own tools.
Mhm.
We need to use our own tools. One of my favorite tools is reflection. I'm just a big fan of I've had this experience and now I'm going to reflect. I've had this
Mhm.
experience, now I'm going to integrate. I've had this experience. For me, I separate them just a little bit so I can just be fully present with the experience
Mhm.
and not try to say in the experience, what am I learning? What am I figuring out? I just separate those a little bit. But I'm wondering, Melanie, now that you have had this experience with these 40 days, which is a really cool number, by the way. Well, so is 44. That you've had this experience with this, what what transformed in you? What did you learn? Seems like a very basic phrase in my heart right now, but what did you witness? Where did you
Mm.
unfold? Like any question you want to answer, but I'm so curious.
Yeah. Well, that's funny that you say the word curious because that's the thing that I learned the most is that humans are not curious. That was
What?
the most fantastic and fabulous thing that I could possibly have learned on this trip was humans are not interested in what other people are doing. They're more interested in sharing about themselves. And it was so fascinating that before this trip even started, I had started noticing that as I was sitting with people on calls or in other spaces, I could literally sit silently for an entire conversation and it like nod or just like confirm and they would just keep going and there would be a pause in the conversation would end and it wouldn't be so how are you doing, how's the tour, what's going on with you, like
Mm,
there was nothing in response, which at first I was like that's really shitty, like why does that have to be that way, like I don't like that, but then what I realized was wait a second, why do they need to know about me? Why am I being so
mm,
egotistical that I'm sitting there going, well, you need to be curious about me? I'm like, wait a second, I can also stop that. I can sit and go, yeah, I'm just very curious about you. And I can just be that. I don't have to go, well, because I'm curious about you, you have to be curious about me. And so there was so much learning in that because as I was going through the trip, I realized we were building up to seeing family who was not curious or interested, and we were getting closer to seeing people who were very triggering like that. Well, normally I really need to tell you the things that's going. It's like, no, I don't. I really don't. Like, it's okay for me not to, because I'd rather have someone who's actually curious and wants to listen. Someone who's really interested in what's going on, not someone who's not interested and I'm forcing them to be, but someone who really wants to. So the more I went, the more I was like, it's so interesting that humans, and they're also the other piece of it is like most people like their routines. They like what they do. They like who they are. They don't want to change. They're not interested in it. And so Dan and I got to the third week of the trip and we were like, are we trying to do something insane? Like, are we just crazy? Like, we want to change the world. We want to help people grow. We want to do this, but are we pushing a giant boulder up a hill and nobody actually wants this? Is this something that like
Mm.
we're just noticing how people really like the way that they are, like the things that they do until they experience something different. Then they're like, wait a second, there's something different? I didn't. But they
Mm.
have to be open to seeing that. So it's like the curiosity and the openness and the willingness to see was just, and it wasn't a judgment either. That was the part that I had to really get over at first was like, I'm not judging anybody for this feeling. It's just a noticing and an awareness around, huh, I can't ask people to change if they're not interested in it. I can't tell people that there's something new if there's no interest in something being new.
Mm.
So it's like that give and take of the curiosity without judgment and just willingness to see what's there.
I love in here just what I'm witnessing in you is my experience of just this moment of unfolding is you notice something, but it also didn't need to change who you were as
Right.
a curious person,
Yeah.
especially when I know you to be so curious. And then to see, to witness something opposite of who you choose to be in your full
Mhm.
curiosity happening out there in the world and to not have judgment on it, just the
Mhm.
noticing. And that is, as coaches, we are going to experience all kinds of humans. This is our gift. This is our
Mhm.
work. The every emotion, every mindset. We're talking about a curiosity mindset here is allowed.
Mhm.
And especially for baby coaches, I remember when I was a baby coach, there's still many, many ways that I'm a baby coach. Every day I wake up and I'm like, I feel like a baby coach. Um, there's going to be times when we come up against that actually is the opposite of who we are as
Mhm.
our own humanity. And those are times when we can stretch the most.
Yeah.
So I saw that in you, and I'm experiencing it when you're telling the story as you're just telling the story. You're making an offer of a story and you're just relaxed and
Mhm.
positive and centered. I know I've told stories like that before where I'm like, and then they weren't even curious. How
Exactly.
could this world be so
Right.
wrong?
And it's
When
the
I've
mirror.
told that
It's
story.
seeing the mirror in someone and going, "Oh, what am I seeing about
Mm.
myself?" and noticing
Ah.
this. What am I seeing here that I'm seeing in them that I'm not liking, that I'm not feeling it's fun. It's not fun to do that, but at
Mhm.
the same time, it's like, "Wait, why do I feel that way, though?"
Right, yeah.
Is it because I have, like, some sort of ego in it where I need someone to know about me? Huh,
Huh.
fascinating.
And then coaches, listen to what Melanie just did. This is beautiful. She's using that spark. So in coaching magic, we call it encourage the glimmer is the
Mhm,
opposite of a trigger
mhm,
because that's fun. So she's experienced this glimmer of like, oh, I'm noticing. I'm noticing this thing that is in me. I'm not noticing it in other people. Huh.
mhm,
And she just took what could have been a trigger and she pulled it through as a glimmer saying, wow, could there be a space in me that is
right,
still not as curious as my my true self is?
right.
What a gift. What a
Well, and
gift.
the whole idea of the tour was that it was called the Brilliant Rebellion Tour. So, the funny part of the whole thing is people are like, "Why did you do this? Why are you spending all this time on the road? Why are you doing this?" And I was like, "Well, the truth is I actually wasn't planning on doing it other than just going to see some people that I love. That was it. We had like this healing session in Charleston we wanted to go to, and then we had a wedding in Cleveland, and then we wanted to see my family, and then we're going to go see some friends in Boston, and then we wanted to go to DC to see some friends because I lived there for 12 years. And it was just like,
Mhm.
well, why don't we just like see people along the way and make it a tour? Like and share the idea is that the Brilliant Rebellion is a community. But what we realized over the whole course of this is people don't understand what community is. So we were like literally doing this tour with people who were like, "What is this? What do you mean? What are you
Mm.
selling? Like, what's the real reason you're doing this?" And I'm like, literally not. So I even put a layer of it where I was doing a hug tour. Like I added that just because I'm like, this feels like it's so much easier than trying to explain community to people. So I would randomly walk up to people like store owners, like people in stores and be like, "Hi, I'm doing the Brilliant Rebellion tour." And I would pull out this little card and they'd be like, "Oh, what's she selling?" And then I'm like, "I'm actually doing a hug tour though." And it says, "You got hugged," or "I got hugged" on the card and it had a number on it. And I gave numbers to every person I gave a hug to. And people's entire like physiology would change. They'd be like sitting there like, "Oh, what's she trying to sell me?" To going, "Oh, I would love it. Oh my gosh, that would be so great." It was just like, it just happened. And so I think I did over 200 hugs in 40 days, which was fun. But it was the idea that was more like, just randomly seeing the difference in people and how they react to I'm being sold to versus I'm
Mhm.
getting a hug. And I want to do some video of it because watching the people's
Mm.
faces fully change. Dan said he felt some of the hugs. He's like, I didn't even see the hug, but I could feel that they needed that
Mm.
hug. And so
Mm.
it's like I'm layering this whole tour with I don't really care. I'm not doing this for any real
Mm.
reason. If we get some community members, great. But like teaching people what community means and that, hi, I can be here for you and you don't have to pay for it. You don't have to do anything. You're not trying to get anything. I'm not getting anything from you. But they're like, I don't understand. I'm like, I just felt like I was sitting there going, okay, am I doing crazy things here? Like this feels like simple stuff, but well, all right, cool.
Okay. I have I am so there is so much to play with right here, and um I've been using the word instead of overwhelm. I learned this from my friend John Fox, who learned it from somebody else, who that's what we always learned from somebody else. Instead of overwhelm, it's overflow. So
Mhm.
I am overflowing right now with yummy stuff. I am I'm going on a tour
Mhm.
for most of August. It's like the end of July to
Nice.
the end of August. And the original idea I had it years ago was I really want to travel with just my backpack and a credit card, but no
Mm.
plan. No plan. Go to the airport and say, I want to go to, like, close my eyes and go, ding, almost like spin the globe. And
Yeah.
so I'm doing it. It's taken a few years to put into play, but I'm doing it. And at the time of this recording, I am leaving in about a month.
That's
And
mhm.
so you have given me so many fun ideas to add to my brilliant rebellion.
Yeah.
I've started to play with, I'm going to call it, There is Magic All Around Us. I just want to go
Mm.
witness. I just want to go witness. I want to witness a tree. I want to witness a new human, an existing human that I know.
Yeah.
And it's really turning into, let me crash on your couch,
Mhm.
friends.
Yeah.
Let me go crash on your couch, and we don't know what's going to happen. So you've just given me so many beautiful ideas. A hug tour.
Yeah.
Why not a
People
hug
need
tour?
hugs. It's like every time I hug someone, they're like, "Oh my god, I really needed that." Or people who are like not understanding hugs, they're like, "Oh, good, we're hugging. Great,
Yeah.
cool."
Yes.
But I'm like,
Yes.
how when was the last time you got human touch outside of your family?
Yeah.
Like, really?
Yeah.
We all walk around like, "Don't touch me, don't touch me. I'm in my bubble." And it's like, "Yeah, but what if we got a chance to just can I have a minute? Just a second? Like even
Yeah.
2 seconds? Just see what
Just
happens."
hug.
Yeah.
I know when I've had those experiences, they um, where somebody is just like, "Hey, I want to give this to you," just a random
Mhm.
stranger. They stick in my heart.
Yeah.
They stick in my heart for
Mhm.
sure. And I'm imagining right now all those 200 hugs, probably more than 200, maybe.
Yeah,
But
it definitely was. Multiple people have hugged me multiple times. They're like, "Do I get more cards?" I'm like, "No, just per card
yeah,
for one person."
more cards. I want more hugs.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
adorable.
Well, I was also
Um,
gonna mention, if you're doing this tour, one of the things that I would suggest is looking for the signs. And you probably do this
Mm.
already, but during this tour, I wasn't really looking for the signs until
Mm.
we got to our first stop, and I noticed that there were bees at every single stop of the tour in some way, and I took pictures of them, but we went to the Savannah's College of Art and Design, and we went to this 4D experience in Savannah where we got a chance to learn how the school was started. I was bawling by the time we finished because it felt like exactly what we were trying to do, which was the impossible. Like starting a community that's really a community, that's not like a if you stop paying, you're not part of the community kind of
Mm.
community, where it's like a conscious space for people to get together, which is what she did with this art and design school, something
Mm.
no one had ever done before. But the little bee followed us around the entire time. And we were like, "This is interesting." And we found out the brilliant bees are the mascot for the school. And we were like, why are the brilliant bees in the Brilliant Rebellion? Okay. And so I looked it up, and bees are actually impossible. They shouldn't be able to fly because their bodies are too heavy for their wings. So it's actually impossible. So every stop we had like a door knocker on someone's house was a bee. There was a bee on a like the mug that I got one morning, just like random every single stop there was a bee. So I looked it up, and the very first section of Bee Spirit said, if you're trying to do the impossible, call on Bee Spirit. And I was like, shut up.
Just right there.
Like, the whole time, and so that really just gave me the sense of, like, we're doing the right thing. It's just might feel a lot harder than it needs to, which
Mm.
just was so much encouragement the whole time. So I would say as you're doing your tour, see what's the thing that keeps showing up at all the stops, and then see what you find in it.
Oh, thank you for that invitation. And I feel like I'm going to see bees everywhere. To here's something curious. My in my family where I am the child, my mother and father have two girls and two boys. And
Mhm.
so for the two girls, my mom calls me the bumblebee and my sister the butterfly.
Ah.
So I see bumblebees and butterflies everywhere. It's like, oh,
Mhm.
that's me and my sister.
That's
So
so
there
funny.
you go. There's another bee on your
Yeah,
day home, your first day home from tour. Love
you're
it.
the bumblebee.
So
Oh,
great.
I love it.
Melanie, I'm curious about a few other things, which I'm loving that I'm innately curious and we get to have this curious conversation
Mhm.
today after you discovered humans are maybe not as curious as we thought they were. The word coming to me is layers.
Mhm.
And
Well, you're gonna
um,
talk about my favorite thing.
are
Mm.
you serious?
Yes, let's go. Come on.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
Patterns and layers, let's do it.
I didn't even know that. But this is the word that was coming to me.
Mhm.
So uh, now I almost don't even want to ask you the question, but I'm going to ask you the question. And then you take it wherever you want to go because this is
Great.
this is what we do.
Yeah.
But as you were sharing the tour with us, I was feeling layers coming on. Like
Mhm.
the first day you saw bees, and then you saw layers of this. I also saw layers of what you possibly set out to do was build community. But I heard that community even built itself on
Mhm.
top of the original idea. So layers there. But then I also heard in here building community, but it felt like it wanted to start with something else like hugs. And really
Mhm.
like hugs I'm feeling is the spirit of community, but maybe you realized that jumping right in with community, and if you're just listening to this, I'm putting my hand up high, was like that's not working, air quotes. We need to start at a different layer. That's kinda what I was thinking in layers. But where were you thinking with layers now? I'm so curious if it was the same thing or different, and we love paradox, and we love all
Mhm.
the full wide range of words.
Yeah. Well, the layers of this trip, it's been hard to digest and be able to make sense of. And I've been even posting this morning. I posted on Friday and was just like, hey guys, I'm going to need a minute before I finish posting the rest of the tour because I was posting along the tour just to show people where we were and
Yeah.
what we were up to and, tagging the people that we love and all that stuff. But one of the things that I realized was the layers of the tour were not about just the things that we did. It wasn't just about like, okay, we're meeting at a spot, you get to meet other people, I'll hug you, how great. It was more about the deeper conversations and getting people to do something different. Like people kept going, "So what's the point of this? Why are we doing this?" And we would do things like drum circles where they're like, "Why are
Mm.
we doing a drum circle? What's the point of this?" And there was one I did in DC, which was I think my favorite stop of all of them, that was so layered because we were planning on doing a drum circle and it rained for like 3 days before and we were going to do it on the National Mall and I was so excited about this. And then the universe was like, that's not going to work, which was fine. So I found one museum in all of DC that's open after 5:30 because we were doing it from 5 to 7 on like a Tuesday. And so I found the National Portrait Gallery was open. And what I realized was the layers of it were that I was getting a group of people together who had never met each other. They're all parts of different distant parts of my life. There was about 15 of us that got together. And I asked them if they could share some advice that they had never received, that they never took, advice that they wish they had taken. And so they all shared in a circle, got a little deep right from the beginning. Then we talked about what does community mean in smaller groups. And then we came back. And then I took them to a painting I'd been dreaming about for like a year and a half, 2 years, and it was a painting that I could not find for the life of me. Even when they asked the ladies, the docents at the front desk, they were like, "Yeah, it's right here." And I'm like, "That wasn't the painting." So I asked another person, he's like, "Oh, I know what painting you're talking about." And so I took all of them up to this painting in this museum, which I wouldn't have been able to do if I had the drum circle.
That's right.
And so we went up to this painting and we stood around and there's this big, gorgeous, like velvet chair in front of it, those round tufted ones
Mhm.
and big drapes on the walls. And this painting is as large as the wall. And it's even got a frame around it. And the story of this painting was more interesting than the painting. The painting is just phenomenal. It looks like Yosemite mixed with the Swiss Alps and just this beautiful lake. That's what it looks like. But the story is that this German man, he basically went to America, came back, painted this painting, and instead of selling the painting, he sold tickets for people to come see it so that they could see America. Like he sold tickets to his own painting to show people what America was. And I was like, like, okay, like this is taking something that everyone has done. Like all these people have done paintings, commission paintings, they paint
Mhm.
things and then they sell them. He took something that they had been doing over and over and over, and in 1880 decided to charge tickets to have you come see his painting. And people paid it. Like people came to see his painting. And it was later sold and then passed down in a family and then given to the Smithsonian. But one of the layers of it were that, like, it wasn't just about connecting with each other. It was about thinking differently and getting outside of your normal everyday and going, well, I'm a painter, so I have to put things in an art gallery and then I have to sell them and da da da. But I was asking them, what are the things that you're not thinking about in your business and your work and your life right now that could be totally taken out of context and done completely differently in a way that allows other people to experience your work without having to just give it away for free all the time? What would be different? And so it's like all the
Mm.
layers of this trip just became, and I love layers because I'm always thinking about the bigger picture, which I'll share this. The bigger picture of layers for me is that every time I react to something, I'm reacting through a whole group of layers. I'm reacting to the environment I'm in, my hormones, the trauma that I've been through, the person that I'm talking to, every little tiny layer of stuff that's on me. I'm not thinking just clearly about, like, oh, I'm just reacting to the thing you just said. I'm also thinking about the 50 other things that could be happening, along with how I feel about it, what's going on in my life right now, what part of my cycle I'm in, what I ate this morning. It's like there's so many layers of these things that it's like, how could we really think about something completely clearly if we have so many things we have to work through? And once we're aware of those things, then we can start working through them. So there's two sides of it, but yeah.
I love that so
See, now
much.
overflow again, right?
Yes, overflow again, overflow again. Layers, layers, layers. And then I'm so curious about so many things you just said, but these layers that I love that you use the word reacting through.
Mhm,
Where these layers we're reacting through. And when we become aware of them, I think this is what you said, when we become aware of them, I'm gonna use a word, then we can respond
mhm,
versus react.
right.
We do a lot of that in coaching magic. Like there's a difference between
Mhm,
reacting and responding, but it's that space between. You just take that deep breath And even if it's just a mental deep breath and give yourself some space. I love that you said to your community, wait a minute, I need some space before
Yeah.
I reflect on giving them the space. And I'm almost wondering, well, I am wondering, I'm not almost wondering, I am wondering, are there layers, Melanie, that you find we create that don't just pop
Mm.
up without awareness? Are there layers like a painting? I'm an artist. Like
Mhm.
I'm going to paint the sky first, and then I'm going to paint the mountains. I'll paint the
Yeah.
Swiss Alps, and then the Yosemite, and then the grass. Are there layers we consciously create too?
I think so. I think there's the judgments and criticisms that we sometimes put on other
Mm.
people rather than ourselves. Like, I have a judgment about something that I'm doing. Like, I have a judgment right now. Like, we'll just talk about right now. I have a zit on my chin that I never put foundation on today. So I'm like, oh, there's a judgment. Like, I could judge that. I'm not saying that I'm actually doing that, but like, I could say, oh my gosh, I can't believe that I didn't put foundation on this morning. But at the same time, I could also be sitting there going, well, she doesn't have a zit on her face. And like, oh my gosh, it's so like, it's just a little thing right now, but it's
Mhm.
that idea that, like, when we start judging ourselves, we start noticing it in other people. Like, I did a talk once where somebody just brought this up the other day. She said, "You basically," well, I'll just say what I said. I basically said, "When was the last time you looked at another woman and you were like, oh, I can't believe that belly fat that she has?'" When
Hmm.
you're saying that, you're actually talking about yourself, like, "Oh, I can't believe that I have the belly," or that you're like, "Oh, I finally got rid of my belly fat, so, oh, I'm gonna judge hers." And it's like,
Mm.
why are we doing that to each other? That
Mm.
doesn't make any sense, but it's because there's a mirror in front of us showing us something we don't enjoy about ourselves. Like, I always thought, like, years ago, if a woman has belly fat, that means she's not in control of her body. That was just a little mental
Oh yeah,
tangent that I would
yes.
go on because I'm like, well, but it's something that's installed. But it's installed in us by our mothers and by our grandmothers, like, "Oh, well, you can't have a blah," and it's like, "Wait a second. That has nothing to do with being in control of yourself." Women go through all sorts of things and changes and shifts, and I always thought, "I'll be beautiful when my belly is flat." And once I finally was just like, "Wait a second. That's just judging myself and everyone else around me, and I'm just carrying that layer and that filter on everything. That's gross. I'm not gonna do that anymore." And once I finally was like, "I love my body was like, 'Oh, I'll give you a flat belly now. You're welcome.'" And I'm like, "Oh, I just had to
What?
do that. I just had to remove the judgment, and now I'm like, 'Oh, okay. I just have to love myself.'" Okay. But it's those things that we don't realize we're doing, and when we can actually just, and this goes for a lot of other things other than this,
Mm.
but it's that reminder like, "Oh, I can get myself under control by focusing on myself and not everybody else all the time. I can focus
Mm.
on me and also just love myself, which means I can love other people more."
Mm. 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 Mm.
I'm all about the layers.
I
So
get it's, there's so many places to go with the layers. I wanna, maybe this is continuing the layer talk, but, maybe it's going somewhere else. There's what I have just experienced in you, just in this conversation and in other conversations, and by being part of your community, Brilliant Rebellion, which has, like, sub-communities that are really fun too. Um, your energy to me, my experience of your energy is very invitational.
Mm,
It's very invitational. And how the medium in which I have experienced most of that is through your questions.
mm,
And we've been talking about curiosity and layers and also, meeting people where they are. It wasn't like community was like, that was a nebulous word, but a hug, like people
mhm,
got that. Um, I wonder if we want to unpack the layers of questions. I have
mm.
experienced your invitation through these beautiful questions in the platform, Brilliant Rebellion. Is there a formula? Is there an insight? Is there some Melanie magic you can reveal to us around the questions that come to you?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Well, someone asked me while I was on the trip after I did the DC stop, he was walking out and he said, "Melanie, you have a way of creating an immersive experience for someone. How did you learn how to do that?" Like, when I
Mm.
was sharing about, like, the questions and then the painting and the different things, even at the end of the meetup, I asked them, "What if you had a question and could get some help from someone else in this group, what would you ask?" And people started asking about random things like, "I'm a fire walker and I need some land to be able to build some fire walking space." And someone was like, "I have some land for you." Like, random, like, not just typical, like, "Oh, I'm looking for a podcast to be on." Like, it's like random things. And it's like, okay, interesting. So we, at the end of it, he's like, how do you do this? Like, how did you learn how to do this? And I'm like, the craziest part was going back home to see my family made me realize that having two people who raised me unconventionally, and my dad got mad at me when I got a job out of college. Like, that's the kind of people that I grew up with. Like, we're all entrepreneurs. We think of things differently. We grew up super poor, but we did what we could with what we had. And my mom would like make up games all the time for her four kids because she didn't have the money to do other things. It was just, there was constantly a mystery and constantly a questioning and a curiosity and an interest in what could we do with what we have. And so I've learned that creating immersive experiences for people through questions, like just even asking them, like, what are you going to do today to make sure that Monday feels really good? Like, that's a simple question, but how can we think about the way we're living our lives right now in a different way, outside of the box, a little bit
Sure.
different than when we're thinking? And I realized a lot of this stuff has been trained into me over the years. And it's made me think about my own life differently and how I show up differently because I don't want, I've never wanted to be like other people. So I'm like, okay, why am I different? And how can I see the difference without judging? And how can I ask other people to just think a little bit outside the box? Not crazy, but just a little. So I think there's a lot of like just how I grew up with parents who didn't do what they did. I mean, every person in my family, both sides, is entrepreneurs. So there's not one person on either side of my family, aunts or uncles or grandparents, who have jobs. So it's like we've all created stuff from nothing. So that's probably how I do it more than anything.
So maybe a little bit that you're born with, a little bit how
Mhm.
you're raised. And
Yeah.
then I love what you've shared with us. And I think this is a tool maybe all coaches could try out or experiment with, even if you weren't raised entrepreneurial.
Hmm.
I love you said raised unconventionally.
Yeah.
That's so great.
And I didn't know I was until I met my husband's family and was like, "Oh, that's what convention oh,
Oh,
this is very
oh,
different." Like,
this is
they
very
have a
different.
nuclear
You,
family with the
yeah,
same number of
yeah,
kids, the same parents, the same age,
yeah,
the whole
yeah.
thing, but they had kids later in life, and they're like a nurse and a financial person. My dad's like a door builder and a house builder, and my mom owns a consignment shop. Like, we didn't grow up the same way, so it's
Right.
just a
Right.
different way of thinking.
So great. Raised
Mhm,
unconventionally. So even if there are some of us who are raised conventionally or
mhm,
inside the box, right? Inside the
uh-huh,
thinking box. Um, one thing that I know I can take from this, and maybe other coaches can too, is ask a curious question or see what comes to you just for the next layer.
mhm.
It might not be, a question of like, how are you going to rule the world tomorrow?
Right,
It's like, well, I'll get boil the ocean tomorrow. Might not be an accessible layer
right.
for the humans and teams that come to us to say, I would like to have a coaching relationship with you. But what's just the next layer?
Mhm,
What's the next layer? And I think I feel like I'm witnessing that in your trip you just finished is
mhm.
you were here, community. And then it was like, feels
Simple.
like very intuitively you went to, how about a hug?
Mhm,
How about a hug? I also love, Melanie, maybe we can talk about too, because you create experiences and you
mhm,
had somebody even comment on how do you create these lovely experiences that in coaching, it's often said, and I believe that um, in order for somebody to have a transformation that this is why they're coming, that it's a feeling. They've got to feel the experience. They got to know what
mhm.
coaching feels like. Well, coaches aren't like, well, this is what we do in coaching.
Right.
We have 3 Zoom calls a week or we meet quarterly for a full day. That's like the logistics of it, but they got to have an experience
Right.
of their own. So how do you can you give us some magic on maybe some ingredients that you put in your cauldron, this is coaching magic, of
Yeah.
how you build those experiences, what you look for, what layers are there
Mm.
for your experiences?
Yeah. Well, with coaching specifically, and I don't have a certification in coaching, so I've never called
Mm.
myself a coach. I know that this it's the box of coaching, which is
Yeah,
fine,
yeah, it's the
but
box.
I'm
It's a
as
very creative profession. It goes
yeah,
all ways.
exactly. Yeah. Well, and the thinking of it is that one of the things I finally called myself was a brand muse because I'm a brand strategist by trade. That's who I am. I've taught speakers for years. I've helped people in a lot of different ways, but it's all around the idea of who they are. And it goes back to, sure, coaching and guiding and being the person who's walking alongside them. But one of the things I learned was being a muse is about really allowing them to be inspired to think differently and to do something creatively that's outside the box that isn't me coaching them. It actually says on my website, I'm not going to coach you. Like that's not my key. But I want to give them the experience of having someone sit with them and start thinking differently. And this goes to coaching and everything too. But thinking about it from a space of like, what can I do on those first calls or those first interactions or even on social media to share stuff with them that they're like, oh, I want more of that. How do I get more of that? Because there are some people who are not available for my way of doing things. Like, I'm not for everybody. I'm very clear about that. But at the same time, when we're having these conversations with people, whether it is just a one direction conversation on social media or on a call, a lot of times it has to do with like, how can we make this experience about them? Not about us and what we're doing, like you just said, not about like, hey, this is what I'm going to do to help you. But it's like, what would you like out of life? What would be different in your life if you got a chance to sit with somebody who could really partner with you and support you in this next step, but also thinking about the idea of like giving them the experience of working with you. And like, this is like, even those first calls have to be about, let me show you what it feels like so you can actually get something out of this, but not just like, I'm going to give you everything. It's like, can't do that on a call, but it's, if you come to an experience with me, I'm going to show you what it feels like to do that one-on-one work or group work with me. It's packaged a little differently. And this is why you're attracted to what I'm doing rather than someone else. Or here's my favorite part. I always tell people, if I'm not your person, I know the person who will be able to help you. And if I don't know the person, they'll know the person who can help you. Like there's always someone who can help you, but it's being able to not get tied to the, oh, I've got to help this person because I need the money or I need the client or I need
Mm,
whatever. But
mhm.
being able to tie it to, I can show you that I'm the person or that I'm not the person. And if you're doing that, then you're going to get the best people to show up for you because you're not trying to get everyone to work with you.
That's so true. That's so true. Which one of my big dreams is that every human on the planet or other planets, who knows? Every human on the planet has access to a coach. And it doesn't even mean a professional coach. It's just a loving, present
Hmm.
human who can ask you curious questions and be there in full presence for you.
Right.
And uh, that human, as a coach, I'm calling them coaches,
Yeah.
um, can just forget themselves for a minute and
Right.
be totally present with you and gifting that
Hmm.
experience of being, when you ask us a question on the platform, it gives me a chance to I just pause, even if it's for just like 2 minutes, and I'm having my own experience through your question, through your
Right.
loving, curious question.
Yeah.
And it kind of brings me back to the first thing we talked about when what you observed on your tour is people are not curious. They weren't curious about you. How's the
Hmm.
tour going? Because
Right.
for coaching, it's never about the coach.
Right.
It's never
Exactly.
about the coach. But they probably, I'm just having this insight, they've, uh, they probably come to know you as someone who inspires curiosity in themselves,
Right.
about themselves.
Yeah. Well, that's the
And
reason
they
we
want to
started
share
the
that with
Brilliant
you.
Rebellion was because we wanted everyone to be able to have access to support. And that's the idea is being in community with other people because like that's the thing is when people say, "Oh, but what are you selling?" And I'm like, I'm not selling anything, but at the same time, like there's an event that I'm doing in August called The Remembering that's just a way for me to be able to get some people, women specifically, together to remember their gifts. It's
Mm.
actually part of the time that you're going to be gone. So, if you need a couch, but being able to like get people together to remember their gifts. And it's like, I don't want to charge a lot for that. I want to be able to have women sit together and be able to sit in a circle to show each other what it's like to go, oh, you
Mhm.
know light language? Fascinating. I can actually see the future. Or I just got intuition that you're going to do this thing. Or, the things that women don't get a chance to do because it feels weird. Like, oh, this is weird. And I'm like, what if it didn't have to be weird? Because I have a 16-year-old, a friend of mine, who's having dreams that she's terrified of because there are
Yeah.
Vikings standing in her room when she wakes up. And I'm like, okay. Mhm. What if you had her come to this for one of the days and just sit with other women who have these really weird things happen to them and just see what happens? I'm not getting anything out of it. I'm just like, yes, let's get together and see what happens. But it's that idea of like, we've been sold for so long on like, I'm going to sell you this little thing to sell you this big thing. When in reality, it's like, well, what if we didn't do that? What if we were there and then you found somebody who you're like, actually, I could really coach you on these things. Amazing. Great. Go do that. That's awesome. But it's being able to get people together to say, let's just do this with no reason, no bigger plan,
Mm.
no bigger like sales pitch. Just
Mhm.
let's see what happens. And then if we continue, great, amazing. If we
Yeah.
don't, who cares? Let's just do this.
And it's the moment. It's the moment that was impactful.
Right.
I'm seeing so many parallels in our stories
Mhm.
right now. Um, I read a book that talked about compensation,
Mm.
and I've always thought of compensation as money, right? That's our number one thing that we use. It's like we
Right.
exchange money, but like
Mhm.
that's it's agreed upon. I don't want to say it's easy because there's a whole bunch of stuff packed around that, but it talked about compensation in such a different way that money is only one way that we're
Right.
compensated. I was in a group with women all this weekend, and I'm sitting there. It was a group I put together, but
Mm.
I'm sitting there thinking, I am so richly compensated right now. And it was not money, it
Right.
was the ability, like as coaches, just I get to be in the room where it happens,
Right.
It's like
Yeah.
a song from Hamilton, "In the room where it happens,
Right.
room where it happens." That was my compensation, my so much of overflow
Right.
was delightful when I'm with teams in the session room and they have an aha moment. I'm like, that energy of the aha moment, that's my compensation. And
Yeah.
then sometimes I look at my bank account and I go, "Oh yeah, I get money for this too."
Mhm. Yeah,
It
because there's like an energy exchange. The
Yeah.
energy exchange is a compensation, the friendship is a
Mm.
conversation, learning
Friendship.
from other people is a
Oh.
compensation. Like, I learn so much when I sit with other people that I'm
Mhm.
like, I don't wanna teach you all something. I'm here to learn. Like, I wanna get as much as I'm giving. I don't wanna have to just have it be a one-way street where I know
Right.
more. I actually had a conversation the other day with a friend who she has really great friends, a couple people she met through the stuff that we do. And
Yeah.
she's like, "Oh, I just love this group of friends." And I was like, "I understand, and one thing to think about is, what if you put yourself in rooms where you're not the smartest person? Where not everybody knows the same thing, where you get
Mm.
to be the person who gets to learn the most. It's like, what if you got a chance to not just be the person who is the smartest or has the most information, but to be able to go, I want to know more from people who are way more successful than me to be able to help me up level my success. And that's the part that most of us are missing. We're like trying to be the smartest person and I'm going to lead these
Mm.
groups and be the person. It's like, nope. That's
Mm-mm.
the curiosity and stepping
Mm.
down from the pedestal that you put yourself on.
What one of the core values going along with that I hold true to is humbly confident. And
Mhm.
it's just right there at the top for me
Right.
because I'm always a baby coach.
Mhm.
I'm
Right.
always learning. And whenever I put together a program, one of the principles of putting together a program is I am only at the very most 50% of the content.
Mhm.
At the very most. The group brings the rest. And
Mhm.
this last group of Coaching Magic, I think I was like, let me think, let me feel into it here. I was 22% of the content. So
Right.
I often do that in reflection. How like did I take over? Was I trying to be the guru on the hill? And
Mhm.
the more I just offer what I have to offer and then receive from the group, the more impactful,
Mhm.
um, the the more unfolding we all do. We
Yeah.
all do.
Well,
How
it's like
and Melanie, this is actually I gotta tell a story about you
yeah.
because I was asking a friend, I was starting to feel like I was in the same circles over and over again, which is lovely because you unpack new levels of people and it was great. And starting to see like the same teams over and
Mhm.
over and over again, even though they were different humans. I'm like, this, I've seen this before. I've seen this before. And getting into that, almost that space where I'm like, "I've seen this before, so I'm gonna jump to judgment, jump to
Mhm.
conclusions, Matt. I'm gonna jump to conclusions of what I know what you need."
Right.
And I said to one of our mutual friends, I'm like, "Hey, do you know of any coaching circles, women coaching circles that are just like outside of our circle, just where I can just throw myself into getting some different perspectives?" And she said, "Oh my gosh, you got to meet my friend Melanie. So thank you for that.
Mhm.
You created it, and it's been lovely for me to get in there and play
Yeah,
and see
and
some
it's been
different
so lovely to
perspectives."
have you. And one of the things you just brought up was I I realized not too long ago that this thing I've been saying for years is more and more and more true just by being more curious. And it's that who is the most interesting person in any room? The most
Me.
interesting see? But the most interesting person in any room is the person who asks questions and listens. It's
Yes.
never the person who talks the most. It's never the person with the most interesting stories. The most interesting person
Mm-mm.
in every room is the person who listens. Because you leave a party, and if someone actually asked you questions and really truly sat with you presently, you're like, wow, you're such a fascinating person because we don't get that very often.
Right.
We're usually trying to say
Right.
something instead of actually hearing it or really being asked the questions or having someone
Right.
talk at us for a whole long time. But it's like being able to sit and be present with people. So I tend to want to be the most interesting person in the room these days because I'm like, I know my stories. I know what I've done.
Mhm.
I know where I've been.
Mhm.
I'm not that interesting. Tell me your stories and tell me where you're from. So even today, I'm like, this is so fun to be able to share my stories, but I'm not used to it anymore because I've just been like
Yeah.
listening for so long. But
Well,
thank you
and
for
that's
this.
where, the first time I heard that phrase was, I was probably no, I was somewhere between 18 and 24. I read, what is it? What is it? How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Good one.
And there was a big chapter in that around you ask questions.
Hmm.
You use people's names.
Yeah.
You look people in the eyes, and when when they leave, if you've asked questions about them and received lots of their stories, they walk away going, "Oh my gosh, I really like Jill.
Yeah,
I really
exactly.
feel comfortable around Jill. They don't know much
Right.
about me." But as again, going back to layers, and I see this in you too, as I've added layers to that, I'm not trying to win friends and influence people. The
Right.
title of it is like, oh, but
Yeah.
also maybe it's accessible.
Right.
Maybe that's like layer one where people are,
'Cause that's what people want to do. They're like, "I wanna
there you
influence
go.
people," but at the same time, when you realize what it's all about, you're like, "Oh, this isn't about getting people to do things I want. It's actually the opposite."
Yeah. Yeah. And it's connecting, and
Mhm.
I get to receive their story. And so therefore I receive their story and I expand.
Right.
And then I have access to other stories.
Mhm.
So when
How
I am asked a
fascinating.
question or asked for help, or it's okay, I have like 500 stories to pull from of this guy did this thing, could that help, or this
Right.
um and it's receiving is the gift. It's
Right.
not now I am the most influential person in the room, and
Yeah.
it's a pendulum. It's a pendulum.
Right.
For sure, but, that's so beautiful. I also love just the noticing that I'm doing here in this moment, and it's a layer of noticing because 'cause I've had it before, but this conversation with you is helping me notice it even more, is, people wanting to tell us stories, because this
Mhm.
happens to me too. After a speaking engagement or a workshop, people come up and line up, they wanna talk.
Right.
And years ago, like, they're not asking me a question. It was really interesting. They're coming
Mhm.
up to tell their story.
Right.
Whoa. And in a way, we're leading people by receiving their story, we're leading people back to their own hearts. They're having
Right.
a conversation with themselves that
Mhm.
maybe they've never had before.
Right.
It's just happening in our presence. They've somehow felt comfortable to come tell us their
Right.
story, and receiving that story is coaching, is an element of coaching. It's the
Right.
listening, like, hello,
Right.
it's the listening layer.
Well, and there was one of the times that I was on this trip that someone shared a story that felt like almost gossip. Like, they were sharing
Mm,
a story about someone
mhm,
else that I happen to know,
mm,
and as they were sharing, I was like, "Okay, I'm seeing what you're doing, and you don't seem to want to have me respond. You just wanna tell me what's going on to let me know that this thing feels really terrible to you." And so
mm,
as I was listening at the very end, I looked at this person and said, "Are you open to shifting your perspective about this, or did you just wanna tell me the
mm,
story?" And he was like, "Well, I just really wanted to make sure that you knew." And I was like, "Okay, and this sounds a lot like gossip to me. This sounds like you're trying
mm.
to tell me in order to make
So
sure that
good.
I feel differently about this other person when I actually can see the other perspective. Are you open to that?" And it
Mm,
really took a lot to get him to shift into like, "Okay, maybe, oh, sure." But it just sometimes people are telling us their stories because they just need to get it out of their system. But when we can see as coaches or guides with them, we can
mhm,
say, would you like to see something different about this so that it
mm,
doesn't have to be something that's stuck in you? And so there's that ability for us to be able to invite someone to a conversation when we're seeing something that can be shifted, not through our own egos, but purely just the ability to let them see something different. And so
mm,
it's always interesting when people are like, I don't know that I really want to. And I'm like, okay, but you're stuck in a gossip loop.
mhm,
Would you like to get out
mhm,
of the loop and maybe think
mhm,
differently? And it
mhm.
shifted a lot for him after we did, but it was just the awareness of like, "Oh, yeah, I remember I used to do that a lot," where I was just like, "Well, this one," and it's like, "Wait, no, I'm not
Yeah,
available
and
for that."
oh, I love this. We often take commercial breaks
Mhm.
in Coaching Magic to just highlight coaching things that Melanie has done here, and I just wanna highlight, coaches, something that Melanie just did. In Coaching Magic, we call it the third time's the charm. It comes
Mm.
from somewhere. She invited, and I'm getting chills all over my body. It's so beautiful. She invited this human who, like, gossip is a sign of pain. There's pain somewhere. There's
Huh?
pain somewhere. She invited this human who she was feeling was in some kind of loop, right? Rumination is sometimes pain. And she invited him to see it differently. It was very permission-based coaching. We like to twist that a little bit and call it invitational-based coaching
Mhm.
because it feels a little lighter, and she invited him a couple of times. So, just because you invite once with a curious question and they go, "No, no, no, I just wanted you to know about that, Melanie."
Mhm.
You you can invite again. It's the thing that's under the thing that's
Right.
the thing.
Yep.
So those invitations that we take, the layers, oh my gosh, here we go. Layers of invitation. Are you open to seeing a different perspective on that? Okay. No, I just wanted you to know. Okay, because I notice it could be something like you're in a gossip loop. Would you like to feel like you're still in a gossip loop or maybe not? But
Right.
she asked a couple of times. And often I will say, but after that third time, if they really don't wanna unfold, just if they can't gently see what I'm seeing or just don't want to at that time, then that is not my business.
Mhm.
It's
Yep.
not my business, but I will invite. I'll invite
And then
3
you
times.
can even say that, like, for me, people come to me and complain about something. And if someone comes to me and complains once, I'm like, okay, I'll listen. But if I hear it more than once, I'm like, do you want to see if that's what's really in here for this? Because I'm not the person to come to complain to. I'm the person who's going to be like, let's work on it, let's fix it, let's change it. Not like keep complaining at me. Like you're coming to the wrong person. There is plenty of
Yeah.
other people you can complain to.
Yes.
But if you're
Yes.
coming to me, you know you really want to fix it, even if it feels like I don't really want to fix it. And so being able to shift it into okay, what can we do to change this conversation? What can we do to not have to keep coming back to the same thing? Because this is a loop that
Mm,
you're just in and allowing us together to be able to do that. I've realized, but by the third time, I will usually say, "Hey, so just so you know, I'm no longer available for this conversation. If you need to keep bringing
mm,
this up, you're going to have to talk to someone else about it, but I'm not available for the loop
mm,
anymore." And that usually gets people to go, "Oh, shoot. Okay,
mm,
you're
mhm,
right. Maybe I should talk about it or learn about it or change it." But usually
mhm.
being able to just stop it because I'm not available for gossip. I'm not available for the loops. I'm here if like, what are you going to do about it? Like, I don't
Yes.
respond with, "Oh, I'm so sorry about that." It's like, yeah, but you've said this enough. What are you going to do about it?
Uh-huh.
So, yeah.
I love that. It's the third time's the charm,
Hmm.
and after that, I've experienced your coaching just even on this podcast is so brave. Um, I I'm I'm resonating with a few phrases that you use that just still feel so kind
Hmm.
and bold and light but also have gravitas.
Mhm.
Like
Well,
it,
that's one
it
thing you said earlier was that you said humble confidence.
confidence.
And I'll say I used to do a talk called Rock Your Leadership, and what I learned
Mm,
was I looked at all of the top leaders in the world over a
mm.
certain amount of time, and I found that they had 3 things. They had confidence, humility, and also courage. And you had to have all 3 of those together in order to be a great leader. It couldn't be just humility because otherwise you're not gonna get anywhere. You can't just have confidence because then you're a dictator, and you can't just have courage because then you're just gonna go after people. But it's being able to have all 3 in a really solid mix. Like, that's the thing that takes you into the best possible leadership roles.
Oh my gosh. Again, layers. I love these. And this is like a Venn diagram layer
Mhm.
type.
They have
Um,
to blend
hum,
together.
yeah, humbly confident is one of my core values. And I literally wrote a book called The Courage Advantage.
Look at
What?
that.
Oh my gosh, this
You're
is
doing
so great.
all the
Don't you love it
layers.
when we see things and we're like, "Oh
Mhm.
my, I saw that from a different angle, but it's still the same thing,"
Yeah.
and just adding all of these perspectives.
Mhm.
Uh, the there's so much I have notes. I have, like, tons of notes from our conversation. I love this so much. I do wanna spend like, we're pushing the limit on time here, but if we could spend even just 2 minutes about the brand Muse,
Mhm.
it this is what you do. If people want to find you, if people would love to sit with you, um and for you to not be their coach, but be their brand muse.
Yeah.
What is can you give us something lovely around that so we
Yeah.
can find you?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, what's funny is my husband just redid my whole website,
Ah!
which is so amazing. The last couple of weeks, he's like, "We need to focus on you being a brand muse." I'm like, "That would be nice." And so he just like completely I think he's fixing it today as we record this, but it should be totally ready shortly. But basically, there's different ways to work with me is one, the Brilliant Rebellion. It's free to be able to come in and just like get inspired and stay inspired and get in community and meet other people who you need, ask for help, whatever that is. And then the next layer of it is I have a thing called the Remembering, which is getting women together to learn their magic and understand their gifts. And that's like a weekend kind of thing I'll do once a quarter. And then I have a thing called the Unraveling, which is 3 or 4 women who are entrepreneurs who are stuck, who cannot seem to get out of their way. And I have a co host, her name is Tracy, and she's a sex and intimacy coach who works with energy. And the 2 of us help women get unstuck and out of their way. But then the bigger picture is I have a thing called the embodiment that if someone's wanting to launch a new brand, like I work with usually CEOs and women or men who've sold their company and need to go in a different direction. That's where I step in and sit with them for an entire 8 months. And I help them with their writing a talk and launching a business and building a brand and like fully putting everything behind who they are as a person rather than the company that they built or the life that they've lived or the career they've had. And
Mm.
that's the brand muses. I usually sit with them to build out lots of different pieces based on what I know so that they can fully launch and get the clients that they're looking for, build their offerings. It's like building a business in 8 months, but to fully embody the thing that they've become. So that's what I do.
Oh, wow. So there's many curious layers of
Mhm.
how to work with Melanie, get more Melanie in your life. I know I sure really appreciate being part of the Brilliant Rebellion.
Yeah,
It's
and thank you
helping
for being
me
there.
it's helping me be even more curious and getting to witness you in your
Mm,
magic as well. So,
thank you.
Melanie, thank you for being on Coaching Magic. I'm so excited you were here.
Thanks
I'm
for
sure we'll
having
have you
me.
on again because this was so much fun and I have 17 other things I'm curious about.
Okay, great. Well, we'll have to hang out soon, and I'll maybe see you on your tour.
Yay! Thanks, Melanie. Bye-bye. Thank you for playing with me today in the land of coaching magic. If you want more magic, I invite you to explore www.jillyoung.com. This is where you can see all the shenanigans I've created for you to expand your world of coaching. See you there. And remember, you are magic.